Oh my god, hey! Welcome back to my kingdom of stagey isolation. If you are seeing my face for the first time, my name is Mickey Joe and I am obsessed with all things theatre. Which means the highlight of my year has just happened because In the Heights, the movie adaptation of the Pulitzer and Tony Award winning musical, has finally been released in cinemas. Although apparently I'm the last person in the world to see it. I don't know how the rest of you saw it early at press previews with free tickets, and apparently everyone else has a cinema membership apart from me, but I have finally seen the damn film. In celebration of the fact that In the Heights has finally been released after a lot of COVID-based delays, I'm going to be making 3 In the Heights videos, all coming out this week. I want to talk about what I thought about the film, I want to do a reaction to the soundtrack, all of that is happening, and I might be dropping some of it early on my Patreon. As a reminder, if you want to support me as a stagey content creator, head over to patreon.com/MickeyJoeTheatre. Now back to In the Heights. So I finally got to see the film. I was really intrigued to see how many of the things I had predicted from the teaser trailer we saw were actually true. If you haven't already watched that video, it turns out almost everything I said in that video, if not everything I said in that video, is completely correct. Not to toot my own horn, but I am a musical theatre god and you should worship at my altar. Too much. Okay, that was too much. I know a lot of things about musicals. So in today's video, before I tell you what I thought of the film, I would like to talk about the changes between the original stage version and the film version. Now this is a show that I know very well. I saw it 3 times live in London. I was very familiar with the original Broadway production. Bootlegs. So whenever I see an adaptation of something that I know this well, my first thing I focus on is always the changes. Whenever I hear a lyric get changed, I'm always thinking, oh, that's different, and oh, that song's in a different place, and oh, they've given that line to this person, and it messes with my brain a little bit. And after that, I can then enjoy the film. So if anyone else is stagey like me, I thought you might be interested to know all of the changes between the original stage version and the film version. Now I am recounting these from memory, so when I say all the changes, I may miss 1 or 2, but I'm pretty good. It's worth saying as well, this video is definitely going to contain spoilers both for the In the Heights stage musical and the film. If you do not want to know literally everything that happens in this film, do not watch this video. If you've already seen it, then you can get on the hype train. Don't be atting me in the comment section saying I didn't give you a spoiler alert. You have been warned. Now, as a general rule, even the closest adaptations of stage musicals will always have some changes. There's an inherent difference between a 2-act musical that has to have a big dramatic act 1 ending, a break, and then a way of reintroducing the audience to the action, is always going to differ from a film that doesn't have an interval. There is no need for them to have this big climax in the middle and a way of re-grabbing attention in the second act. That, I believe, is the reason that the song that would open the second act that Nina and Benny sing on the balcony, that's now gone. There's no need for it because the audience hasn't gone anywhere. Musically speaking, a lot of the ends of the songs have also changed slightly. The reason for this is because musical theatre songs, especially Lin-Manuel Miranda songs, tend to end in a big dramatic button. It's the Alexander Hamilton punch moment. I tend to say any Lin-Manuel Miranda song can end in a dab. Alexander Hamilton, bam! In Washington Heights, bam! Burn, slow dab! And then wipe the tear. Wipe the tears from your sad, sad face. And the reason for this is that in a theatre, big button, audience knows when to applaud. In a cinema, there is no applause generally unless you're a really hyped cinema audience. So it kind of has this dissonance where you hear this big moment and then it's just going to be sort of crickets, tumbleweeds. So it makes more sense for them to have this dramatic moment in a song that then slowly peters off and can flow back into dialogue more neatly. They do this on songs like When You're Home, they do this in Blackout, where it doesn't end with the big dramatic moment that you would be used to. But generally speaking, the film is pretty faithful to the structure of the original stage show. One difference is the whole way the narrative is framed. In the show, Usnavi just comes out at the beginning and starts narrating to the audience in rap. In the film, we see him on a beach in the future talking to some children and telling them retrospectively about this story and about this time and about Washington Heights as a community and a neighborhood. They did show a preview of this in the trailer and I was confused as someone who knew the show because in the show at the end he makes the decision not to move to the Dominican Republic. He decides to stay with his community in Washington Heights because that's where his real home is. So for them to show this beach scene in the film is kind of a trick. What ends up happening at the end is we see he actually has this beach mural that gets painted on the walls of his bodega, and that's where he's sitting talking to the children, one of whom is his daughter with Vanessa. It's their way of tricking the audience and making them think that he moved because he talks about it throughout the show, and then in the end he makes the decision to stay. It's a reveal. The rest of the changes in the film tend to come under 3 big plot points. The first one concerns Nina's whole arc. Now, in the stage show, Nina is returning from college and has to have an awkward conversation with her parents about why she has decided to drop out unbeknownst to them. Unbeknown to them? Unbeknownst? They don't know about it. In the film, we find out in the first song that Camila Rosario, her mother, is not in the film. Where normally her parents would both come into Usnavi's bodega, it's just Kevin who comes in, "Good morning, Usnavi." The rest of the lyrics of that little exchange are slightly different because Camilla hasn't been cooking all week because she's dead, so she can't. This gets confirmed in a conversation between Nina and Abuela, where Abuela says, "Your mother, God rest her soul," which is her way of saying to the audience, oh, that character's dead now. FYI. There's no real reason for this, except that I guess it saves on time, and the relationship between Nina and her father changes slightly as a result, because it's just the two of them, and has been just the two of them for however long. This obviously means that Camilla's song, Enough, in the second act, is gone as well. There's also this whole strange subplot where Abuela is showing Nina these napkins that her mother had hand embroidered or hand embroidered herself that are representative of their culture, and Abuela goes to get them dry cleaned at the new fancy and evil dry cleaners, but it's very expensive, so she decides not to. But then in the end, Nina finds them in Abuela's things after Abuela has tragically died, and sees that I believe they have been dry cleaned. I think that's the message of what we were getting, and it's representative of her culture and how that endures. In the stage show, Nina finds a bunch of pictures and her high school graduation little booklet with a star next to her name, and I feel like that's more impactful, but I get it visually what they were going for. Because Nina's mother is no longer in the film, it also means that Nina's lyrics in Breathe are slightly different, where she would normally sing, "What will my parents say? Can I go in there and say?" She doesn't sing that anymore, I can't remember what it is, it's something innocuous, but she's not going to meet the two of them, she's just going to meet her dad. The reason Nina dropped out of college is also slightly different. In the stage show, she was actually falling behind in her work because she had to get 2 jobs in order to pay for tuition in addition to the money her parents were giving her, I believe. In the film, she feels very culturally disconnected, and it feels like a betrayal of her community and her race to her that she is even there, and there are some incidents that she divulges later in the film that have occurred in which she's been racially profiled on a number of occasions while at Stanford. She's also concerned about her father paying her tuition because he's already sold half of his premises to make way for the new evil dry cleaner, staffed by Patrick Page from Hadestown. By the way, he's literally always the devil. She doesn't want him to sell any more of his business, so she makes the decision to lie to him and say that it's gone past the deadline for tuition payments for next semester, when in fact it hasn't. What is interesting is even though Nina's mother isn't in the film, there is a tribute to the original actress who played her, Priscilla Lopez. Now, as well as creating that role on Broadway, she is famous for having created the role of Morales in the original Broadway cast of A Chorus Line. Very big deal, very iconic. In the film, Vanessa now has a surname. She is now Vanessa Morales, which is undeniably a tribute to Priscilla Lopez, to A Chorus Line, and her paving the way and creating these iconic Latin roles on Broadway. The other thing that's changed with Nina is her and Benny's relationship is very different. While the stage show very much features them as the main romantic arc, we find out quite quickly in the film that they've already had a prior relationship, and they're sort of in this awkward post-breakup phase where they're still friends and maybe they still have a thing for each other. The end of Benny's dispatch is different because in the stage show he actually sings to her, "Stay here with me, wait for your parents," and in the film she's already left and he sings that quietly, longingly out of the window. It's a really nice touch. When Benny finds out that the cab company is getting sold, he doesn't hold this against Nina. They don't have an argument in the club, she doesn't go off and dance with some guy, a fight never breaks out in the club, all of that has changed, and when blackout happens, they don't have this fine, go your own way moment and then come back together and kiss, the iconic end of Act 1. That does not happen in the film. In fact, the same lyrics, "I will find my way home without you," is now sung by Vanessa and Usnavi. When the blackout happens, Benny sees chaos happening with the taxis and says he has to go to work, so he goes back to the dispatch where he meets Kevin Rosario, also on his way in, and the two of them help coordinate the taxis amidst the chaos. Their relationship is very different. There's no mention of Kevin not thinking that Benny is good enough for his daughter because he's not from the same culture. There's no issue with Benny not speaking Spanish. All of these things from the stage show, they don't really exist. It also means that Benny and Nina don't spend the night together after the blackout. So Kevin's lines about going and trying to find Nina in the blackout are gone. The scenes of her coming back the next morning, gone. But interestingly, Daniela still sings I Heard You and Nina Went for a Roll in the Hay in Carnaval del Barrio. So it's now just sort of unsubstantiated, and he says that's not true or whatever, and they're just speculating. Speaking of Daniela, her and Carla are now in a lesbian relationship. Having watched the film, I really enjoyed the dynamic between them and the positive representation that it gave. Within the first few minutes of the film, we see them waking up and sharing a bed together, and I think Carla rolls over and just kisses her on the cheek. It was really moving to me, actually. I really liked the way that it affected their characters. They have a third person now, Kuka, I think is her name. I don't understand what she contributes to the film. There was a moment where she flirts with Usnavi and I thought she was going to come between him and Vanessa, but that doesn't happen. So I don't know what the reason for Kuka being there is, except for they might still want her as a co-worker to Daniela and Carla so they can show them as gossipy co-workers and not just a gossipy couple of lesbians. Also, it means the three of them get to strut in power formation like a Latina Charlie's Angels, which is great fun. The next big change I notice is at the end of 96,000, we cut to Usnavi and the kids on the beach and they asked who did win the lottery and he says, "We never found out." Now that was interesting to me because normally, in the stage version, Abuela would sing Paciencia y Fe and sing What Do I Do with this winning ticket, at which point the audience all gasps because that's the reveal that she has won the lottery. In the film, 96,000 comes and goes, nothing happens, and when Paciencia y Fe does come, the song is very different. It has been moved to immediately after the song Blackout. She goes to bed amidst everyone coming to stay, and I think they're playing bingo, and she is watching them, and then she has a dream in which she sings Paciencia y Fe. It's this whole incredible dream sequence where she's seeing people from her past, and she's like riding the train, and she's deciding what to do and dealing with some sort of quandary, and there's a literal light at the end of the tunnel and she's talking to her mother because the quandary is now her deciding whether or not to accept death. There's no mention of the winning lottery ticket. I can't remember what the lyric is changed to, but it is different. She decides to walk up the stairs into the light and dies. This is obviously different because normally her death comes at the end of Carnaval del Barrio when Nina runs out and tells Usnavi as the music turns minor, and we then move into that. And it's normally announced by Kevin Rosario singing a little bit over the dispatch to say Abuela Claudia passed away this afternoon. Another big gasp moment from the audience. We don't have that. Instead, we actually see her die and we see everyone reacting to it in real time. What's strange is right at the end of the film, we see what Abuela has left for Usnavi, including the winning lottery ticket. So she did still have it, she just made no mention of it before. Obviously, the lines about her having the money that would normally happen in Blackout, when she says, "Usnavi, please promise me you'll guard this with your life," gone. The song she sings with Usnavi about having the money and planning to give a third of it to Sonny, gone. That entire song, Hundreds of Stories, is gone, which I feel like no one's really sad about, but it does mean we lose the joke about Usnavi being named after a boat. They still say it in the film, but they show you a picture of a boat with US Navy on the side, and I feel like seeing it is not as funny as hearing the lyric in the song. It also means Carnaval del Barrio, Usnavi doesn't know about the money yet, so he doesn't come out and sing, now I got an announcement, sit down, sort of in the range of 96,000. And he doesn't sing, we're going to give a third of the money to you, Sonny. He just sings about wanting to go to the Dominican Republic to move on with his life, basically, because it's what Abuela would have wanted. And I believe when he sings to Sonny, it cuts straight into, maybe you're right, Sonny, call in the coroners, maybe we're powerless, a corner full of Floridas. Meanwhile, Sonny's plot is actually the whole reason for this change, because the money is now being spent on legal representation for Sonny to apply to become a US citizen, because we find out while he is at a protest march with Nina that he is undocumented, and he is just discovering while at this march that he is not going to be able to go to college and follow in her footsteps. We also get a lot more of Sunny's character in the film because we get a scene where Usnavi asks his father, who does not appear at all in the stage version, if he can take Sunny to the Dominican Republic. His father is played by Mark Antony in a big cameo. If you're American, that may mean something to you. To me, he's just the dude who had a thing for Cleopatra and Caesar as well. I don't know. But Sunny's father is an alcoholic and does not seem particularly interested in being a good role model for him, which adds a lot to when Vanessa sings. It's not like Sunny's got role models stepping up to the plate. That suddenly has a lot more impact. Speaking of Vanessa, her character arc has been changed slightly as well. In the show, she just wants to move downtown. She sings about it in It Won't Be Long Now. She wants to escape from the clutches of her alcoholic mother. In the film, she wants to move downtown in order to become a designer, and we see a lot of moments of creativity. We see a lot of her designs and things that she creates. At the end of the film, she sees these paint rags that Graffiti Pete has been wiping things down with, and that inspires her to create some clothes. It doesn't change anything all that much, it just gives her more of a sense of focus. Her relationship with Usnavi is similar. It's kind of more the focus of the film, where Nina and Benny's relationship gets a little bit sidelined, and Vanessa and Usnavi become the will they won't they. They have a dramatic kiss moment at the end of the song Champagne, which I don't think they do in the stage version as far as I can remember. But structurally, I think those are all of the changes that happen between the stage version and the film. There's various lyric impacts from the changes that they make. They move a couple of plot points around. Daniela and Carla leaving to go to their new residence is now much earlier in the film because no one comes to send them off, which is why they go and look for where everyone is, and everyone is sat around, and so that's why they then do Carnaval del Barrio. All of the changes made sense to me in terms of making the structure of the film flow better, in terms of like removing excess songs, because you can't have as many songs as you would for a stage musical in a film unless you want it to be really, really long. The one thing I do miss is Abuela being painted on the grate by Graffiti Pete at the end, and that being the reason Usnavi stays. Instead, it's just the beach mural that Graffiti Pete drew from pictures that Usnavi had in his bodega store, and that's what connects him to, oh, this thing that I'm searching for has been here this whole time. There's various new pieces of dialogue that bring the story up to 2021 and the developing conversation on race and immigration in America and worldwide, because the show came out in 2007 and politically speaking it's a very different landscape now. So Nina's story at Stanford and Sunny's story about being undocumented are very relevant to current issues facing the Latinx community in the US. But those are literally all of the changes I can remember from the film. If anyone can remember anything I didn't say, feel free to comment it down below, and if you've got any specific questions about changes, let me know and I will do my best to answer those in the comments as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe to my channel because I have 2 more In the Heights videos coming out very soon. I hope that everyone is staying safe and that you have a stagey day.
For 10 more seconds, I'm Mickey Joe Theatre. Oh my god, hey, thanks for watching, have a stagey day. Subscribe!